Hello and welcome to jasonnewland.com. My name is Jason Newland. Please only listen when you can safely close your eyes. It is 2:45 in the afternoon, and I made Monday's boring objects last night, edited it this morning, been trying to upload both the podcast and the video, and they're still not done. It's taken hours to upload small files onto the podcast because my internet is just not very good. I don't know what's going on. It's very, very silly. Anyway, yeah, I'll just be moaning really. So today I have actually last night I got a good night's sleep. Because the night before, Vinny was hassling me like continuously and didn't bother me once last night. In fact, he stayed in bed, till 10 o'clock. Yeah, he was still in bed at 10 o'clock this morning, which is normal. I think we went to bed about 11ish. So he got his 11 hours, which is what he's normally has. The night before was just a bit chaotic. I don't know what was going on. But I'm glad that's now done. So this morning we went out, and we were out for about an hour and a quarter. So a long walk. He met a few dogs. He met 3 and 4. So 3 dogs he'd never met before, and another dog he'd never met before. 3 were together, and another one was separate. And he did his normal thing, barking. So I spoke to the people with the dogs, and just like said, it'll be okay in a minute. Just if we just chat for a couple of minutes, just like he'll get used to the dogs and he'll be fine. And he did. Not to the point where he wanted to marry them, but the thing is, if I pull him away, the minute he starts barking at a dog, then every time he sees that dog, he's going to bark, and I'm going to be pulling him away. And that's just annoying, I think, for everyone. But if he can get that little bit of barking out of his system, and then there's that little bit of sniffing and a little bit of kind of sniffing, a bit of growling. Don't get too close, but just have a sniff anyway. Please sniff it. It's like weird, dogs. And he was cool with the 3 dogs. The 4th dog, again, he started to calm down. It seems to be the best way to deal with him. But there's one dog that he literally... I was walking through the park. This is yesterday afternoon. And there was this bloke walking towards us, and he was barking. I'm thinking, why is he barking at that man? I genuinely thought he was barking at the man because I couldn't see anything else from where we were standing. Vinny... Then we went up a little bit further, and there was a dog round the corner. So Vinny, not only he couldn't see the dog, but he clearly could smell the dog or hear the dog. And he was barking already. And the bloke walking up said, I thought he was barking at me as well. And I said, so did I. I thought, what's going on? But the other side of the field, or the park, the dog that he won't stop barking at is there. He won't stop barking. He just, every time, try and get him close, he just barks. There's something he doesn't like, something he doesn't like about that dog. And I don't understand it because he's a lovely dog, like a really gentle dog. So I don't know why Vinny's being such a knobby. So, guess what it is today? It is, I do believe, I'm pretty certain, I think I'm correct. Trivia Tuesday. Yeah. Trivia Tuesday. So, what I thought I'd do, I tried to find something that was a bit weird. So I thought I'd go with world records that are pointless. I mean, some would argue that all world records are pointless, kind of, but, I'm sure a lot of people would also disagree with that. And, let's face it, if people can disagree that the world is round, then people can disagree about pretty much anything. Did I tell you the other day, I was looking on TikTok, and I was just skimming through it. I was sitting down on my chair, just having a little look, checking my stats and that. And I dropped my phone. I went to catch it. The next thing I know, I'm in someone's box. And I hear, "Hello, Jason, would you like to introduce yourself?" So I'm trying to get out of it. I'm trying to and it wouldn't do anything. It froze. So all you hear me is like, "Hello." He said, "How old are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm 55. "I thought you were." I said, "What?" "Yeah, because you're breathing." I didn't want to say I was breathing heavily because I was frustrated with trying to get this phone kind of... And I thought, that's a bit rude, isn't it? Because of your breathing. What, do young people not breathe? Is that just a thing for older people? How did I manage to get through my life if I never breathed before? We just can't hear young people breathing. Is that breathe? Oh, young people don't breathe. Like you can hear it. It's not auditively detectable. I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, if I ran for the bus, you would hear it. To be fair, you wouldn't hear my voice. You'd hear the sirens of the ambulance, probably. But I thought, how rude of them. And they started asking me the most random, pointless questions. What did you have for dinner? Well, who cares what I had for dinner? What possible opening question would that be in any scenario of interest to anyone ever? It's the most pointless question to ask. I mean, there's only one more pointless question than what did you have for dinner, and that is what you're going to have for dinner. That's like asking how many times you're going to wipe after you've done a poo. That's the same level of pointlessness questions. I just don't get it. Another one is, what did you do at the weekend? Did you have a nice weekend? Used to hear that like when I was in work. Did you have a nice weekend? Now, I had to learn to just start saying, yeah, thanks. And then I had to learn to say, you. I pretend to kind of be interested. Like, did you have a nice weekend? Did you? And you might think, well, that's just rude if you're not interested in people's weekends. You don't. Well, didn't you like the people you worked with? Yeah, I did, actually. I did like the people I worked with. I wasn't interested in what they did at the weekend, though. I've got family members, and I don't care what they did at the weekend. Don't really care what they did for the last year. Unless it's interesting, then tell me. You know, if it's an interesting story, if it's, you know, then yeah, I'm interested. But just generally, off the bat, I'm not thinking about other people's weekends. You know, getting to work on a Monday morning, I'll be honest, I'm probably just focused on doing the work that I'm there for. Focused on just, you know, keeping calm. Don't breathe too heavy. You know, just... How was your weekend? The thing is, I didn't say how was your week. It's just like, did you have a good weekend? It's almost like not giving me an opportunity to tell them what my weekend was really like. That's another thing. If you presume by asking a question like that, did you have a good weekend? Not really, no. I fell in a well. I mean, I don't know what... It's like you can't... It's weird, human conversations. So I see people after Christmas. Did you have a good Christmas? No. No, I haven't had a good Christmas since 2004. And then the one before that was 1985. Or 84 probably, 1984. So yeah. So actually every 20 years I have a good Christmas. No, I didn't have a good Christmas. But I never do. It's not it's just the way it is. It's not like moaning. It's just like, well, I just say, yeah, thanks. And I remember I've got to ask you. But what if they tell me about it? That's the thing. That's the question. Because sometimes I just say, yeah, yeah. And I feel that pressure to do the opposite to what I would normally do, and that is ask them how their Christmas was. It's like, I don't know. But then if you don't know, if you don't want to know a lot about it, you can just do a yes or no question. Did you have a good Christmas? If you ask, how was your Christmas? That opens up for a whole dialogue, doesn't it? Did you have a good Christmas? If you're in a public space like workplace, if you say anything but yes, people are going to be judgy. Very, very judgy. Judgy. Oh, it's miserable Jason. Ooh, he didn't. No, he said no. We all had a good Christmas. He said no. Just because his house burned down. Miserable. So, like, I suppose if you say, did you have a good Christmas? A yes or no. Then the person kind of has to say yes. Unless they're just genuine and they say, well, if it was no, then no. But it's kind of an awkward thing to say, isn't it? I mean, my Christmas wasn't good or bad. It was just it wasn't really any different to any other day, really. I mean, there's parts of it were really good. But, you know, as far as like the actual day itself, I'm talking about, you know, didn't do anything, didn't go anywhere. Everything's closed at Christmas. So yeah, I just watched a bit of telly. I've not even caught up with EastEnders. I've watched it and then I kind of about 2 weeks behind again. How did I get onto this? What am I talking about? I suppose I'm thinking about pointless things that people ask. Yeah, so what did you have for dinner? I said, well, I had chicken in a roll. Breast of chicken. I just wanted to say the word. Well, I was online, I was around women, and I thought it'd be funny if I could get away with it. It's a bit childish of me. Chicken. And in a roll, bread roll, I said, "Oh, what else do you have?" What do you mean, what else did I have? Nothing, that was it. What about the vegetables? It's like, we've just met. I'm literally a complete stranger on the internet, and you're delving into my dietary requirements and what's it got? Why? I mean, that's like the worst first date ever. Can you imagine being on a first date and the first thing they ask you is, "What did you have for dinner?" That'd be like, that's the end of the date, isn't it? I mean, that is really a little bit. I mean, I had a date once. It's true. Hard to believe. This was 2004. And it was January. It was a blind date. I don't know, I must have been drunk or something. No, I wouldn't have been drunk. Maybe it was, if it was the year before, was it like, yeah, possibly if it was the end of 2003. But I phoned up the local newspaper's singles section and I posted an advert. It's free. And she replied to the advert and sent me a letter saying, "Oh, whatever." And I phoned her up because I thought, "What am I getting this letter for?" Phoned her up, and in the end she said, it was a bit of an awkward conversation, and I thought, I've got to say something to her to make it interesting. So I asked her, what she had for dinner. And that made her happy, and she seemed to be really interested in talking about food and stuff. No, I didn't. And, it's like, "Oh, when did you last cut your toenails?" It's the equivalent question. It's just like, ugh. I've got a neighbour that does that. "What'd you have for dinner?" What are you talking about? Why? That's all I'm going to think about today, isn't it? Why? Just seems like a really strange question. I might be the odd one out. I have been before. Hard to believe, but I have been. Humans. I mean, is there anything more pointless to ask someone than that? I mean, what do you want for dinner? That's different. If you're cooking someone dinner. So if I'm cooking someone dinner, I'm not just gonna assume that they're gonna eat what I give them, because they may have specific dietary needs, as it were, and also that would be helpful, especially if it's a first date. If I was cooking or we were going to go to a restaurant, then instead of me just booking a table at an Indian restaurant, if she has certain allergies and things like that, then, I kind of need to inquire into that. And if she has got allergies, and that will depend on whether or not we have a date, I guess. So what was my point? I don't know, but anyway, I had this one that's not one night one. Wow, I had this blind date, and she spent. So I went to her, and I thought, what, I've learnt from this in the past. I've spoken to people, had blind dates. It's gone on way too long on the phone. Ends up like being a relationship before even meeting them, and it's never going to be satisfactory for either person. It's too awkward, because I can get to know someone very, very well on the phone, really intimately, like personal wise. I mean, kind of just. But then there's that whole meeting, and it just feels different. I think maybe I'm just better at communicating when the person's not there. I think that might be what it is. My communication skills seem to dry up when I've got someone in front of me. Sometimes, not all the time, but that's how I would know if I met the right lady. If I was able to be me with her and not get tongue-tied and not just run out of things to say and just be... if that didn't happen, then I'd kind of know that maybe that would be my person. Because any friends I've got, that's what I'm like with. I don't get tongue-tied or run out of things to say. I've only got a very tiny percentage, a very small amount of friends that I talk to, and they seem to just accept me for who I am. But in the past, I've had friends that didn't accept me for who I am when they found out who I am. Because that's the thing that used to really bug me when I was about like my early 20s. So people would accept me how I was. But I didn't want to be like that. I wanted to expand. I wanted to grow as a person. I wanted to become a better person, a kinder person, have a more open mind, and to get rid of my limiting beliefs as much as possible. And if at all possible, get rid of most of my beliefs and opinions. Because that's the thing that really divides us, I think, as humans, is people that have got strong opinions and really strong beliefs that go against other people. And I kind of understand it in a sense of if you've been born into a belief system, you've pretty much got no choice but to believe that. In order to... you've got a choice. As an adult, you can move away. You can really... it takes a lot of work. Serious work to move away from that. To be more open-minded and less judgmental. And to not dislike a certain category of people that maybe you were born to dislike. You learnt to dislike. You weren't born. We're not born to dislike anything, are we? Generally, just things that make us jump. That's the thing about babies. That's the amazing thing about babies. Babies are not prejudiced against anyone or anything. All that stuff's learned. I mean, sometimes people learn it through bad experiences and they generalise. I mean, that's natural. It's a natural way to do things. You know, if you've only ever met a dwarf, okay, once, like a little person, I think that dwarf's the correct term now. If you only... I'm just thinking of a TV show where the dwarf kept saying, you can't use the word midget anymore. Kept telling people off, and then he started calling himself a midget. And he was just like, but yeah, dwarf. When I was a kid, it was midget. That was the normal term. But now everything's, continuously being changed, isn't it? So dwarf, I think, is the correct term. And I think they're lovely. And it's going to sound weird, but I kind of wish I'd been born a dwarf. Because I'm so weird inside my head. I'm not saying that dwarfs are weird, but it'd be nice to have something match. I don't know. It's almost like I'm just too physically perfect. Ooh. No, I don't know. I think it'd be cool. I always like the idea. I don't like being short, this short, but I'd like to be shorter or taller. You know, being 5 foot or 4 foot tall, 4'5" or whatever, that'd be brilliant. Or being 6'8". You know, not in between. You know, I want tall or really short. That was what I would choose. I don't know. I'm just a big fan of the old. What's his name from Star Wars? That's in Roderick, or I forget his name. He's in Ricky Gervais's show, Small something whatever. He's just a really funny actor. He does a TV show, like some kind of quiz show, which I don't watch. I do not watch quiz shows at all, because there's a chance, a very small chance, but there's still a chance that I might learn something new, and I don't want to learn anything. I want to learn anything new. That's not the purpose of television. The purpose of television for me is to waste time. That's what I want television for. Not to learn things. Learn things? Never. So can you imagine if we actually physically manifested, like grew, to match our minds? Didn't that happen? They did a version of that with... Oh yeah, with The Mask. Do you remember The Mask? The TV, the movie? So Jim Carrey had, obviously green, but he was funny. I don't know. He just like, you know, but he looked the way he looked. But then the bad man, the baddie, when he changed, he almost when he put the mask on, almost changed into a monster. So I don't know. I don't know what would match. I want to say like tongue-tied. I mean, it still happens. Sometimes I literally stand there and I'm talking to someone and I'm just thinking to myself, I don't know what else to say. And it's then that I realise that I'm really not interested, perhaps, in the person. Not in a bad way. The thing is, I can't pretend to be interested. That's one of those things. I can't pretend to be interested in something that someone says or in any subject unless I really am. I'll listen to someone telling me, someone comes, they've got problems and stuff. I listen, and that does pique my interest, because I put my little counsellor cap on, just covers my bald patch, and there's still a part of me that is activated when in that situation, if someone's going through some stuff and I'm talking to them. But in a normal conversation, I can just shoot the breeze and just chat and stuff. I could do small talk, but only with a little bit, just a short amount of it. And then they'll say something that really grabs me, and I'm like, oh, and I'm interested. Or there'll be something I'm doing that I'm interested about, and I'll talk about that, which can, I think, annoy people and push people away. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit self-centered, but I know that's what I'm like. I'm interested in myself. I'm interested in what I'm doing. But I am interested, if someone comes up with something like saying, oh, I fell down a well the other day, as an example, I'll be like, wow, did you get out? No, I'm still there. Really? What happened? That'd get my attention. And I wouldn't pretend to be excited. I mean, perhaps I shouldn't be that excited about that, but I wouldn't pretend to be interested, because I can't pretend to be interested. I don't have it in me. I did it for years. Did it for years and years and years and years and years, decades and decades. At least I tried to. A lot of the time I didn't, and people didn't like it, because they tell me something, and I'm like, okay, my time to talk, and I tell them what I want to talk about. And it took me a long time to realise that that's what I was doing, to have enough self-awareness. Now, I had self-awareness at an early age, but a different type of self-awareness. I knew what I liked. I knew what I didn't like. So my likes and dislikes were very much, I was aware of. Why I liked something I didn't care is of no interest to me. Why I've always loved boxing, really, pretty much, well, since the age of 14, I think, was when I really got into boxing. But I've loved boxing that's a long time. That's like 42 years. But then I grew up watching boxing, like Muhammad Ali and Barry McGuigan and stuff, when I was sort of a lot younger. But I don't know why I like it. I just like it. Maybe it's an inbuilt thing passed on by my granddad, because he was a boxer. So maybe there's something in me. Maybe his father was a boxer. Maybe he comes from a generation of boxers. I don't know. There's probably no way of knowing. So it's kind of just something I've always loved for a long time. Martial arts. I loved martial arts. Did a few bits and bobs over the years. I wish I could now. I wonder if there is a place. What kind of martial art could I do where I can't kick, I can only punch, can't run around, can't do anything physical, and need to be able to do it sitting down? Nothing really, is there? Sword fighting, maybe? I often like the idea, not often, but in the past, I like the idea of, do you know sword fighting, like the Olympic sword fighting, where you go on guard, like Zorro, those kinds of swords. I like them. I just thought I'd let you know. I like the idea of doing that. Two things over the years I thought that I'd quite like to do: sword fighting and tap dancing. I saw something recently where it was a divorce thing. They were saying, the reason we didn't get... this bloke on YouTube saying, my wife wanted to do this and I used to say no, and then she left me in the end. And he was talking about going dancing and doing stuff that she wanted to do, but he kept saying, no, we'll do it. I don't really want to do that. And then she met someone else, and I had a girlfriend once. Hard to believe, but it's true. And she wanted to go dancing. And I thought, well, no. Then I thought to myself, well, what if she goes on her own, she meets someone? And I still thought, no. So what if she meets someone and leaves me? Still don't want to go dancing. I thought if I kept like thinking of the worst case scenario that could happen from me not going, then I'd like be turned on to the idea of going dancing, like almost excited. What if when she's gone dancing, the a plane lands on the house? No, I still want to be at home. I still rather do that than go dancing. What if when she's dancing, there's a world war happens, and it only happens because she's gone dancing on her own? No, I'd still take the war. I realised I didn't really want to go dancing. That's what I took from that. And so that was like 2006. And for about 10 years later, I was doing some volunteer work in a venue in a town. Shortly after I moved in here, so I don't know, I don't know what year it was. I wish I stuck at it because it probably would have done me good to be there. Anyway, so I'm there. And where am I? Yeah, so I'm there. And they said, oh, could you come on Friday? They said, come on a Friday. I'm there. I'm thinking it's going to be something like disco or something. It wasn't. It was dancing, ballroom dancing. And I thought, oh, really? So I'm in the bathroom. I hear my voice being called. I'm just about to detonate the bomb, and the person says, "Oh, come and have a look at this." So I went outside and I looked at a big queue of people, and they're all dressed really nice. I thought, oh, okay, maybe let it go ahead, and like proper. What's that TV program that I don't like? It used to be called Strictly Come Dancing. Now it's just called Strictly. No, is it Strictly Come Dancing? It used to be called Come Dancing. And then they changed it to Strictly Come Dancing. And now everyone just calls it Strictly. Because 3 words is very hard to probably say for people. It's a big title, isn't it? It's like, do you want to be a millionaire? Just call it Millionaire. Millionaire. What's the other one? I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. Celebrity. Or I'm a celebrity. It's like they can't just say the whole title. Why? Big Brother. Would you call that big? I don't. Coronation Street. Corrie. That's it. People don't like to say the whole word Coronation Street. See, in the early 2000s, because I moved away from London, and I was around all these, I don't know, farmy people, like just people that live near farms and stuff. I was in the countryside, kind of, and they're all saying things like, oh, let's go down to Mackie D's. Mackie D's? Well, it sounds like something you'd find in Scotland, maybe. Mackie D. McDougal, or... And it's like, no, McDonald's. Can't you just say McDonald's then? Mackie D's. Come on, fella. Mackie D's. What's wrong with McDonald's? I don't... And what's weird is people are saying this. About 20 years later, McDonald's starts using that term. So the adverts for McDonald's, they are like 20 years behind what the public are saying. I would never call it Mackie D's. I don't have it in me to do that. Because I don't feel that it needs a nickname. McDonald's is quite a short word. It's not really a complicated thing to remember. Mackie D's. Oh, should we have a Mackie? Should we have a I don't know. Just maybe I'm just being grumpy with my old age. Maybe. But I've always felt this. I've always kind of like, why? It's like Marks and Spencer's. They used to call it Marks and Sparks. Marks and Spencer's, Marks and Sparks. And then it turned into Marksies over time. And Marks and Spencer's is one of the big grocery, retail, whatever brands in the country. But when I was a kid, Marks and Sparks. It was never Marks and Sparks, I don't think. So I think Marks and Spencer's, maybe Sparks to rhyme with Marks. I don't know. And then Marksies. And we had Woolworths. We used to have a thing called Woolworths here. That was too complicated to say for people. Let's go to Woolies. 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 Woolworths. The same length of time to say the word. You save no time or energy doing it. Woolies, Woolworths. I suppose ease is quite easy, isn't it? There's an ease in saying ease. Woolworths, Woolies, Woolies. I suppose you can kind of, once you get to the wool, you get to the L, you can just kind of drop off the energy, kind of ease. Woolies. But with Woolworths, you got Woolworths. There's a certain, it's like two words, isn't it, really? Broken. It's one word, but into two parts. Woolies. It's always just like one part, and just the rest kind of floats away. So she's asking me, what did you have for dinner? I said, well, chicken roll. A chicken in a roll. Breast. And she said, we didn't have no vegetables. I said, no. What do I want vegetables for? She said, well, vegetables are important, don't you know? I said, oh, I will have vegetables. I'll have them tomorrow. And I found myself starting to defend myself for not having had enough vegetables. I don't know why. And then she said, have you got a lot of money? So there was like 3 or 4 people on this panel. It wasn't like a dating thing or anything, because sometimes on TikTok they have like date and there's like 12 women and one man comes on, and it's about, I don't know why they do it. And then the woman says, no, I'm married. Like, why are you on there anyway then? What? So maybe it just makes them feel good for themselves because they're being picked by someone. I don't know. So because some people feel good by rejecting, don't they? By rejecting another person gives them self-esteem. But that's why I think that I've helped lots of women with their self-esteem over the years. Thousands. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, have you got any money? Like, I thought, this is ridiculous. They've just met me. First of all, they're asking me what I've had for dinner. No, first of all, my age. Then they point out that I'm breathing heavy. And then they say, what am I having? What did I have for dinner? And now they want to know my bank balance. That's a little bit personal, isn't it, in quite a short distance? I mean, I've never had any woman in my life ask me if I've got any money, especially ones that meet them, because they can tell I haven't. But I've never had a person ask me, have you got much money? Ever. I mean, I guess if you meet me, you can see that I'm not rich. So it's just kind of assumed, I suppose. And maybe if you see me, just assume that I'm just eating chocolate all day. So you don't ask me about my diets either. I don't know. And no one asked my age. I talk to women in their 70s, men in their 70s, like that are walking their dogs, and I think they just class me as the same age as them now. And I kind of do as well. Even though they might have like 25 years on me, or 20 odd years, it's just like, not a lot of difference now. So I'm trying to get out of this group. Someone else comes in, they start talking about something, and I'm like, get me out of here, get me out of here. So in the end, I had to literally turn my phone off. I wanted to sort of say, I'm got to go now, bye. But I knew if I did that, I'd still be there. And they kept talking, I didn't want to interrupt them, so I thought, okay, thinking about it, I probably should have just typed in bye. But so I ended up turning my phone off and having to reboot my phone because it just got stuck on the screen, which was mildly annoying. So I'm on this date, this is 2004, in January. It's a blind date, so I take a Kinder Egg with me to her, and I give it to her. As soon as we meet up, she's been in a pub, I don't know how long, before I got there. And that was my year of no drinking alcohol. Like nothing. Admittedly, I haven't had alcohol for the whole of last year either, or I don't drink anymore, but there was a time when I used to drink. So I stopped in 2004, New Year's Eve, 2003, and then didn't have a drink for the whole year. So I thought, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I thought, I've got nothing to lose by turning up. I mean, she might be nice. We might get on, we might not, I don't know. So I went along. She'd had a few drinks. She was perfectly nice enough, friendly. So I gave her a Kinder Egg, and I said, that's for you. You can open it up and play with a toy if you get bored talking to me. So she found that mildly humorous. But then she started talking about, because I was a vegetarian and I didn't drink, she kept saying, why are you not drinking? I didn't want to say it to her because I've got maybe potential, I don't know. I wasn't. I don't want to say maybe a drink issue. I didn't want to kind of go down that road. So I've kind of overdone it a little bit. I've got to become a little bit. The correct term would have been self-medicating, but I didn't know at the time. So she said, "Why are you not drinking?" I said, "Oh, I'm just having a break." And she said, "No, that makes sense. Have a drink." I said, "No, I can't." She said, "Why not?" I said, "Because I'm a Buddhist." She said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, it's no intoxicants. Buddhism. You know, if you decide to take it seriously." She said, "What do you eat then?" I said, "I'm vegetarian," which I was. She said, "So you're vegetarian, and you don't drink alcohol." Now, I did drink alcohol before that, you know, in the previous year. So I wasn't a strict Buddhist by any means. And she made fun of me the whole night, asking question after question after question about Buddhism and how it affects my life. And I think at the time I had my head shaved as well, and because I started shaving my head in 2003, probably the summertime. And maybe April. I don't know the exact date. I do know that when I used to shave my head, because I used to use clippers. It was connected to the electricity, and it used to do it really quick. And I used to do that during Smallville when it was on TV. It was on BBC Two. Might have been Channel 4, but I think it was BBC Two. So I'd be sitting on the floor, which is something I've not done in a long while. Sitting on the floor, how would I get back up? And I was shaving my head, and then I would shampoo my hair. Even though I didn't have any hair, I shampooed my scalp, sort of rinse it all off. And I had this moisturiser, scalp moisturiser, that was, oh, so lovely. Seriously, smelled absolutely beautiful. So I'd rub that into my head and give my scalp a nice big old massage. Or rubbing my head, really kind of, it was lovely. And it smelled lovely as well. So I'd do that prepared for Monday morning. So every Sunday I would do that, every Sunday afternoon, because at that time I never worked on a Sunday. Yeah, I don't think I worked on a Sunday at all for the whole. Maybe I did when I was in the gift shop, but not when I was in insurance. Yeah, it wasn't open on a Sunday, I think. No, I'm pretty sure it wasn't. No. So she made fun of me the whole time about being a Buddhist. So that was awkward. I mean, the end of the night was okay, so it made up for it, but it's like, oh. But then she wanted to come back to my place. Don't worry, I'm not going to give you details. But she came back. I was living in a YMCA, but it wasn't in the hostel bit. It was in an actual studio apartment in the building. So it was fairly nice. So it was a lot of flats there, and it was, at the time, it was kind of there was. I'll talk about that another time. There's a lot going on there, but I invited her up. So I said, "Are you sure you want to come up to my place?" She said, "Yeah." Okay, so I took her up, and I didn't realise what she was doing was just meeting people, and out of the ones she met, choosing which one she wanted to kind of date. So I was just one of quite a few probably that she'd met up with, and she just probably just had to whittle it down to, it's like a dating game, I suppose. Whittled it down to someone, and she maybe met someone that she clicked better with than with me. I did see her twice, so by that I don't mean I didn't like turn my head and then look back at her. I mean, actually physically saw her the next day as well, after EastEnders. Because she kept phoning me, "Where are you? Where are you?" I said, "I'm watching EastEnders. Can't you come round now?" I said, "No, EastEnders is on." I don't think that went down very well, actually. Anyway, my nan always didn't always, but she used to say, "Don't put television before humans, before people." And I remember thinking, why not? It's like, don't put things that you enjoy doing, that you find more important, before people. Like, my dad used to phone up. It was my nan's fault. I found out she was the one doing it. So I'd visit my nan. We had this thing where we would watch Deal or No Deal together. It was our thing. Deal or No Deal. So I'd take some buns and cakes round, a cup of tea, would watch it, and it'd be exciting. And if you know what Deal or No Deal is, you know that the most important part is the end. You know, if you don't watch the end, you might as well have not watched the programme at all. And guaranteed the phone would ring. It'd be my dad. Like 5 minutes or 10 minutes from the end. And my nan would be, oh, is your dad, do you want to talk? I said, no, I can't, I'm busy. I'll call him back when this is finished. My nan used to get annoyed with me. And then when it finished, I phoned my dad up. Or he'd come round and I'd, you're right. I said, I was watching Deal or No Deal. What I didn't realise is when I went to the toilet in the breaks, not in every break, but I'd go to the toilet in the break, I heard one time she was actually phoning my dad up saying, yeah, Jason's here. Yeah, he's in the toilet at the moment. You're going to call back? It's like, I'm watching, literally, I was having a Deal or No Deal break. I don't know, I don't know if it was a poo or not. The fact that I could hear her saying that probably meant that I was, it was a bit of a longer break than normal. But it's like, why would you do that? You can't put TV first. No, but you don't really. There's no point watching 50 minutes of Deal or No Break if you're going to miss the last 3 minutes of where they open the last 3 boxes. Yeah, especially if it's a really good board, and there was back then, I think it was 250,000 they used to have on the board. Maybe it was higher. So if the board's really good, so there might be £1, £1,000 and 250 grand. I don't want to miss that. Usually that's the point where they go to a break, but I don't want to miss that. So to get a phone call, it's like, no. And I'd always phone him back, said, no, I'll call you back in a minute, I'm watching Big Deal or No Deal. It's like, what are you doing? I was younger back then, and I'd like to say that I wouldn't do that anymore, but I probably still would. But it's different now. You can rewatch stuff. You didn't have playback. You couldn't pause live TV like you can now, depending on how you're watching it. You couldn't watch playback. You couldn't, all that stuff. It wasn't around back then. So if you watched something, it was a one-off opportunity to watch it, and then it was gone. The only things that were played back would be maybe an omnibus edition of EastEnders on a Sunday where they'd show all the episodes. Or there's occasional programmes would be repeated later in the evening. But probably not Deal or No Deal. I tell you, one programme that was repeated a lot was Neighbours and Home and Away. They used to show that early afternoon, like about 1 o'clock. And then show it again at like 1 and 1. Yeah, and they show it again about 5 to 5:30, then 5:30 to 6. So it always used to be Neighbours from 1 to 1:30, then Home and Away afterwards, and the same at 5. Neighbours first, then Home and Away. And then what's the other one? Was it Play School? Or was it Rainbow? I think it might have been Play School. Used to be on twice a day as well. Lunchtime and then early evening. And they had a thing where they said, we're going to look through one of the windows now, boys and girls. Is it going to be the square window? Is it going to be the round window? Or is it going to be the triangle window? So I used to try and watch it during the day, or find out someone who watched it during the day. Then I'd bring my friend round who would watch it together, and I'd like predict it. It's going to be the triangle window. How did you know? How did you know? Your psyche. How did you know? Yeah. Now, some friends would say, how do you know? Was surprised and impressed. Some friends would say, we're 15, mate. What are you doing watching Play School? It's for little kids. You're literally sneaking out of school, going home, letting yourself in, watching Play School, just so you can find out which window they're going to look through. Come back to school, sneak in, and then try and find someone that's willing to come home with you, just so you can brag about guessing what window it's in. Going to be. And I said, yeah. He's like, I do think that a lot of people at school thought I was a bit strange. Because I went round so many different people's houses, like friends, people I was at school with, and so many of them I didn't go around again. Maybe their parents didn't want me back. I don't know what I did. I mean, I only had, literally, this is totally true. I mean, at high school, I only had 2 friends where I was allowed to go inside their house. One was Ivan, one was Neil. And Ivan's mum, amazing. I mean, if he wasn't there, she'd just let me stay and wait, and she'd chat to me. It's absolutely brilliant. She lived just round the corner. And he'd come into my house as well. He'd just come up and he'd knock on the back door, whatever, and he'd go all the way out to just come and see my room or into the playroom, wherever I was. And Neil, the same. Both his parents seemed to like me, or they accepted me. And he used to come around my house, and same with my parents. But Dean, who was ultimately my best friend all the way through junior school, high school, we were kind of the closest. I was never allowed in his house. I think I went in once, but his dad didn't like me. And I don't know why. I mean, he might say, yes, Dean might say, oh, it's because you were such a whatever. And I think, well, if I was that, why were you friends with me? If I was so bad, such a bad boy, why? Strange, I find. But I remember when we were at one friend's house, and he lived, I mean, everyone lived kind of within the same area because it was a small town. So no one was that far away, really. And I went round one person's house that I went to school with, and we were jumping off, I think these bags of coal or some of these bags, and we were jumping off of them and landing on top of each other, and I think I got a little bit carried away and I was kicked out. I wasn't allowed to go back. I was like, all I did was just play fight. We were just messing around. But apparently I kind of just got a little bit not overexcited in a weird way, just jumped up and kept jumping back and just couldn't kind of control myself. Not in a bad way, of course. I'm just, I was probably 11 or 12 at the time. We went round another friend's house that I was at school with, and he lived near the golf course, like a long way away, and went up on my bike. We went for a bike ride, and we were just hanging out for a few hours, and I lost track of time, and then I came back. I think I was late getting back and everyone was upset with me and stuff. I think his mum said, do you want something for dinner? And I said, I'm going to have to call my parents. So I did. And they said, where are you? You've been gone 2 days. They didn't say that. And I was like, you got to come home. You've been gone for ages. Like, so? But then it was a long way to go. It was going to take me an hour to get home anyway. So, yeah. But I never got invited back there. There's another one, I forget his name, but I never got invited back to his. There was a kid round the corner, I think he was a year younger than me, and we used to walk to school together. He had a violin. I used to play the violin, but didn't anymore. But he had a violin, and we used to just walk to school together. We got on really well, and it got to the point where I'd knock on his door and wait for him. Maybe, wait inside or whatever. And then one day he said, I'm not allowed to walk to school with you anymore. Which was very awkward because we literally were walking at the same time. So it's like very strange. So I don't know, I don't think his parents told him he wasn't allowed to walk with me. I don't know why that was. Trying to think if any other weird things happened. There was another friend I used to visit. He lived right at the top of this house. So friends with him for quite a few years, but I didn't go and visit him very often. There was another friend I used to visit, and he lived on the seafront. I don't think his dad liked me. But I stayed friends with him at school. But I had a lot of friends I was friends with at school, but I didn't see them outside of school. In fact, most of the friends I had at school were people I didn't see outside of school. I only saw 3 people outside of school, really, and that was Ivan, Dean, and Neil. Everyone else was just people that I saw in school. Other than when I was in the Sea Cadets, I used to see other kids, outside of school there. And when I did karate, I was seeing other kids there. But there wasn't many kids from my school there. Mainly it was other kids from the other school, which was quite good because I got to meet other kids from the other school, the other high school, where my brothers used to go. So that was quite nice because I got to... It's nice to meet other people, and it was weird, like the whole dynamics was strange in that town. It seems like everyone seemed to know me. Maybe it's because of my brothers. Maybe it's because who I was friends with. I don't know. But they seemed to know who I was. Or at least what family I came from. I don't know why that is. Because I was pretty much a goody two-shoes, really, in a way. I mean, like I wasn't breaking the law or doing anything like that. I mean, generally, no, I wasn't. I was smiling. I wasn't actually doing anything like that. But I still remember there was a kid called Jason, and this was in junior school, right? So I'd have been about 10. And I said to him, do you like me? Do you like me? And he said, his answer was, do I love you? Did you ask me if I loved you? And I said, no. But while we're on the subject, do you? I said, no, I didn't ask. I said, do you like me? And I realised in that moment that I wasn't wearing any trousers. I realised in that moment that it's a question it's an unacceptable question to ask somebody. Do you like me? Yeah, it's the most kind of honest question that you could ask somebody. And it's setting yourself up for potential an answer that you don't want to hear, Do you like me? And he ran off laughing, thinking, I didn't ask him if he loved me. No, I didn't. You're not going to accidentally say love instead of like, are you? It's not. No, definitely like. Oops. Just banging the desk now. So it's like, that seemed weird. It seemed like a weird thing to kind of just come out with. I realised that I haven't done the world's records as yet, so I'm going to have to do it in a minute. This might have to be not Trivia Tuesday. Wow. I'm not sure. I'm no sure. But I definitely didn't say, do you love me? I mean, I wouldn't say that. So I didn't know how people felt about me. I didn't know how people viewed me. I still don't. But that's when I started to notice. I didn't notice my appearance until I was probably, or how I looked rather. How I looked maybe, well, just how I looked. I didn't really take much, I didn't care how I looked until I was probably 14. Maybe it was the acne, maybe that's the thing, but I didn't realise how I sounded until I was about 14, 15. Although someone said to me the other day that I've got a Suffolk accent, which I don't believe I have. But then I would possibly have a little bit of a Suffolk accent because I lived in Suffolk for quite a long time. Plus Essex, plus London, plus Newcastle, plus, Bognor Regis, plus Ireland. So yeah, I've moved around a bit. Run out of things to say now. So this is not going to be a Trivia Tuesday thing. This is going to be a standalone, let me bore you to sleep. I don't know. Whatever, really. And maybe I'll do a Trivia Tuesday later. So I've got all the things, world records that are pointless. The first one is most t-shirts worn at once. I could not do something like that. The restriction or the constriction, imagine that, like having 100 t-shirts, like literally you wouldn't be able to move, would you? Oh man. So I'm going to go. Thank you for listening. Remember to be kind to yourself. because you do deserve to be happy. And be gentle with yourself. You deserve to feel safe. And remember, this is important. We all sometimes need to ask for help. So if you do need to ask for help, please do it. Okay? And remember that you're going to be okay. Lots of love. Bye.